back with a brand new episode after an international trip, as it were.
Welcome back to the good old US of A.
Yeah, it is the Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. We had gone international before because you were at the O'Hare International Airport.
Oh, right, yeah.
And now we've officially gone international because I have just returned from a trip to Tokyo. And let me tell you this, there are some certain things we need to get into from this trip that I saved just for this podcast.
Oh, okay, great.
Beginning with the toilet situation in Japan.
Did you have a bidet experience?
Yes.
All right.
But I was afraid of the experience for the first 3 days of Japan.
You're no longer a bidet virgin.
I don't know what I was expecting, right? Well, first of all, there's a lot of buttons.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is the bidet for the ladies, which is a different angle, obviously, than a bidet for a man to finish up what he's doing on the toilet. They also have various different flushes depending on what happened in the toilet.
Okay, yeah.
So at the first hotel we went to, they had it where it was light flush or heavy flush. And I assumed that meant number 1 is a lighter and a number 2 is a heavy.
That stands to reason.
Right. The next hotel we went to didn't have that delineation in English, but I figured it out by the animation on there.
They just had a gear shift.
Yeah, that's what it was. So not only that, but then there is, and I think the reason why I was afraid of the bidet was there is also then the temperature of bidet water could be chosen. Yeah. And then there was also the force of said bidet water would also have to be chosen.
Having never used one, how do you know what you can handle?
Correct. I didn't know. So the first few days...
Send you across the room.
Now, I've always heard from people that once you use a bidet, you'll never go back from using a bidet. And so I was like, I don't know. So things would happen. Right, I was happy to stay as regular as I could. A little TMI for you,
which is interesting, by the way, if I may interrupt, because you're really against number 2 outside of your house, right?
I usually am. Yeah. I'm very much a Peter Griffin home bowl. You know just what I need.
But here you are on vacation for 10 days. You got to do something.
Well, and part of that is, and we'll get to it. Part of that is what was involved in the breakfast buffet that we had included in the hotel stays. I'll get to that momentarily. Okay, sure. But it's about day 3, and it's happening. The wife's getting ready outside that door because, they have separate chambers for that, and then they have an entire shower room, and then there's a little getting ready area with the sink. And she's like, have you used the bidet function yet at all? And I'm like, no. She's like, what are you afraid of? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm
afraid of an unexpected enema is what I'm afraid
exactly.
of.
I'm like, what? She's like, it's not going to blow you off the toilet. She's like, it's not going to jettison you off. She's like, just try it for crying out loud. And so with much trepidation, I hit the button and I'm like, and she's like, it doesn't just shoot out immediately. It has to, take a second and it was fine. It wasn't as life-changing as people made it out to be.
Right.
I don't feel like I need to all of a sudden now install one into my home like some other of my friends have who've experienced it. But it was fine. I don't know what I was afraid of, but it was okay. I mean, I can understand the function of it. Right after you do, it's a nice way to clean it up after you've started.
The fear is natural. The fear is I'm going to get a colonoscopy that I'm not paying for.
Right.
And my doctor's not here.
That's what I was afraid of. I was like, I'm getting an exam of my prostate free of charge from this water. I
understand the fear.
From the jet stream.
But it's not that.
No, it's not that at all. And I just hit the button. Whatever setting was before me was the setting that I wasn't about to go more, less, hot or cold. I was fine. I also at one point go, sweetie, are these seats heated? She's like, yeah, they automatically heat for you when you sit down for a certain amount of time. Because I was like, I'm starting to feel a little warm in that area.
Did that throw you off a little bit?
It did at first.
Like maybe something else happened?
It was more of like, should I have wax? Because something's burning. It smelled like something was burning. Should I have waxed that area there?
Because I have heated seats in my car, and I don't like them for that reason.
Because you feel like something
I feel
else.
like I just crap my pants.
Oops, I crap my pants.
Right.
Yeah. I will
You know
feel
how often that happens when you're driving around?
You just crap your pants.
Right.
You never know.
Did I just crap my pants?
Because it's way too warm down there. And speaking of the regular, the reason why the reason why was their breakfast buffets over there are like 3-course meals.
Okay.
Like I walk up and they have their quote unquote breakfast staples. Their bacon is just like ham, basically.
Okay.
And there was sausage. Their omelets are served cold and in little chunks. So the Japanese omelet, they make a big pan of it, they cut it off, and then they serve it cold. It's a little rectangle of eggs.
That's a little off-putting. That's not a shape of an egg.
I enjoyed it. It was okay. I enjoyed that part of it. But also they had like salmon, but they had salad.
Sure.
Like a salad bar was out there for breakfast with miso soup and everything else. So it's like I was like, okay, I'll go like I had my traditional breakfast, then I had a salad course, and then ended with some soup. But they also have coffee, so it's like I'm eating roughage and having iced coffee every morning, and immediately about 20 minutes later, it was go time.
Yeah,
they do it. They do it right
races,
there.
yeah.
Exactly, they do it right. They go, hey, we want to get it out the morning Constitution. Here's some things to get you going. So I enjoyed that part, but I don't know if I'll ever eat salad for breakfast again here back in the States.
It's interesting. In European countries, I know sometimes will stack the meals. You know, it's like you eat big in the morning and the afternoon, and then just sort of something light in the evening, which, when you think about it, that makes a heck of a lot more sense.
It really does.
It's like that's when you need stuff
to get it going in the morning.
We're used to sitting down to this huge dinner meal and then going to bed like an idiot.
Yeah, they don't do it that way. Yeah. They get you going. One of the other things that happened over there was I was prepared for this, and you would love Japan for this. There is zero small talk in public places, especially on public transportation.
That's nice.
They got no use for it. You get on a train. You can't be on you can be on your phone, like looking at the internet or whatever may be, or texting, but you don't talk on the train.
How do you suppose they pulled that off?
It's just understood.
Okay.
Like that's what everyone does. Like you can maybe have a conversation with the person next to you if you know them, like at a very tiny level. So obviously I wasn't going to be able to talk on a train because I'm loud.
Yes.
So my wife has just warned me before we went over there. She's like, I've looked into this. Shut your mouth because you're loud. So we get on. She's like, when you get on the train, just shut your mouth or whisper to me. Mm-hmm. But we know where we're going, know what we're doing beforehand before we get on this train. And it is 90 seconds that door opens. You got 90 seconds to get off the train, get on the train, and there is a seating priority. It's the elderly, it's ladies and everything else. Everyone else stands, and you don't say a damn word. You're just on your phone or reading a paper or just off in the Zen-like, and I was like,
beautiful.
Johnny would love this culture.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. I stood shamed a couple of guys on a bus recently.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Because it was one of those shuttle buses going to the rental car place, and so I'm sitting there, and a handful of ladies get on, and so I do
what you're supposed to do,
the gentlemanly thing, and so I stand up, motion to the seat, and oh well, thank you, that's very nice. You know, they weren't expecting it, but they appreciated the thing. And I could see this guy sitting across the way from me watch this whole thing transpire, and he was like, now I got to do this.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. You got to do this. Get up.
Way to be. Nice job, Johnny.
Yeah, I thought so.
Also, I have a question for you as you travel quite a bit, a little bit more than me, because the flights there obviously are lengthy, right? It was 12 and a half hours there and like 11 hours, 50 minutes coming back. What is the acceptable amount of time to spend in an airplane bathroom?
90 seconds for men, 2:30 for women.
What if the call of nature is more in your rumbly guts? How long is too long, right? I agree with you. You got to streamline it if it's number one, right? Women get a little bit more leeway. But if it's an old number two, I ask because there was a situation on our plane ride back.
Okay.
We were right on the bulkhead, so we were like sharing a bathroom with first class, the pod people. And so my wife had to use the restroom. It's literally 2 feet away, but the light is red. Okay, you got to wait. All right. There's another bathroom on the other side, but that's for the other side, right? You got to make sure you're on your own side.
It's the fancy bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. So we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. And all of a sudden, now the individual behind us also has to use facilities. He realizes light's red. Okay, now he's waiting. Now we have a backup. Now another gentleman from first class comes back, which the other thing that threw me off was on these longer flights, they invite you to take your shoes off and they give you slippers and everything else. So this guy was just in PJ pants and slippers walking around on a plane, and that threw me off for a little bit. But I get it. That that's the thing that you do. So now we have a line of like 3 or 4, and it's 5 minutes, it's 7 minutes, it's 10 minutes.
Oh no.
Gets to about 12 minutes, the guy behind us goes up and knocks on the door.
Sure.
So and people kind of look at him like he's being rude, but the gentleman we don't know who's in there, right? And so my wife is giving the benefit of the doubt. She obviously has to go, but she's giving the benefit of the doubt. She's like, maybe it's a woman. It was relatively kind of early on in the 11-hour flight. Maybe she's taking her makeup off. Maybe she's getting ready for bed and felt to do that in the bathroom rather than back at her seat. So my wife's being very patient about it. The gentleman behind us is not. He's banging on the door. And everyone kind of looks at him and goes, what? The guys, whoever's in there is holding up the bathroom. So it gets to the 15-minute mark.
Oh, my gosh.
And the flight attendant now has also knocked on the door, making sure. I start thinking there may be a dead person in there, right? We've heard that story before, like people just keeling over in the bathroom. Finally, guy comes out and just sweat and just whew. And he's wearing a T-shirt, I kid you not, Johnny, that says Titans. And I go, well, that makes sense because that man must have just taken a Titanic dump in there. So now the problem is there's a line of 4 people awaiting to now go in there, but no one wants to be the first to go in because obviously if you're in there for that long, something terrible had arisen in that bathroom.
Sure.
So finally the individual decided to, behind us said, all right, I'll test the waters to make sure it's okay for everybody else. But I was just wondering what is acceptable because everyone looked at the guy who knocked on the door and I'm like, even if you're feeling real sick, 5 to 10 minutes, get out,
something's
then
wrong.
Come back in, go, kind of go in and out. Don't monopolize it for that amount of time.
So when the person came out, any indication as to what was going on?
I think it was just
lollygagging.
I think maybe it was just he had issues with the tum-tums, but not enough to where he should have been in there 15 minutes.
No,
because he never made it, but he never went back up afterwards.
Wow.
I don't know if he was shamed because everyone knew it was him, and so he's like, "Well, I can't anymore. I can't go back to that bathroom. Maybe he went back to the bathroom at the back of the plane instead of up towards the front." Because I never saw him come back up that way, but it seemed a little too lengthy to me.
That's way too long. That's way too long.
Even if you have an emergency situation, that's too long, right?
Yes, I think so.
I think 5. If you have an emergency situation, usually that clears itself up in about 5 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the sickest flu I've had and how long I've been in there. It's never 15.
No, not in a public place.
No, certainly not.
No, not at all.
And you shouldn't be on the plane if you're in that kind of condition.
Right, exactly. It is the Michael Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. Last thing before we move on to a very important topic about too much nude in locker rooms. The last night we were in Tokyo, in Japan, we were sitting in the lounge of the hotel, right? And we're having some drinks. And all of a sudden, everyone's phone, like around us, all of a sudden we hear boop, boop, boop. People start grabbing their phone. And then my phone buzzes. And I pick it up and I look. And the graphic on the phone is a building, looks like it's shaking, and something falling off the roof.
Yeah.
And it says, earthquake warning. And I go, pardon me? A what? And so we kind of look around.
Well, you got the full Asian experience.
We kind of look around, and all of a sudden, no more than a minute later, everything starts shaking. Like, not super violently, but you could tell.
Enough that you knew something was going on.
Yeah. So luckily, one of the workers in the lounge, this young kid who spoke fluent English, he comes over and he's like, you're fine. Like, don't. Because we're all like, do I need to get under a table? He's like, no, you're good. You're good. And so I thought, and then he goes, is this your first first earthquake. We're like, well, yeah. He goes, well, congratulations. Ta-da. You get the full experience. And I joked with him. I go, I know the lounge closes at 7. I thought that was an elaborate way of you to clear out the lounge. Like with the sounds going on.
Send a secret notification to everybody's phone.
Right. And he goes,
brilliant.
Yeah, he goes, we have technology, but not that technology. Like, he's like, so just, we're not not advanced. Then all of a sudden they turned on the TV and it was national news. And he goes, take a few pictures of the TV for the earthquake coverage.
Wow.
So he got some, mementos to take home, some tangible memories.
You had a good experience in Japan. Congratulations.
I did. Yes, thank you very much. And then coming back, you would be proud of me. So we had to take 2 separate Ubers because we had so much luggage. And I was alone. I sent my wife and her friend went in one Uber, and then I was by myself. It took all I could not to engage the Uber driver in a conversation. Like he asked me, when I came back, and I was like, oh, it's good. Busy today? He's like, yeah. We get in the car. And he doesn't want any. And it took all I could. That was a 40-minute of silence. I've graduated.
And how do you feel?
I felt awkward the whole time.
Really?
I had to be on my phone. I had to text. I'm like, I forget that's their job.
To drive you, yes.
Yes.
Not to entertain you.
No, right.
Not to converse with you.
Right, exactly. And I forget that sometimes because, you don't just go into someone's office building and sit across the desk from them and chat with them for all 40 minutes.
Right.
That's their job. So I'm starting to understand it, Johnny. I'm starting to get it. I feel like I graduated of 40 minutes of silence. I was like, I did pretty good for myself.
And this is why people need to spend time abroad. You grow as a person.
Yes, I've learned a lot about myself.
A very cranky person has taken to the internet, and I have to agree with the guy. He's just had it with excessive nudity in the locker room.
Okay.
And I think anyone who's been in a gym locker room knows what's going on here.
There's some guys that revel in it. And it's like, put a towel on, dude. Or get to the underpants a little bit faster.
And that's kind of what this guy, and he is so angry and so descriptive. I just wanted to share it with you here on the Too Good for Radio podcast. Here we go.
Okay.
I am so tired of being bombarded with old ball sacks when entering the locker room.
They have no shame. Old people at that point have no shame. They do tramps around, from what I understand. But I love that. Bombarded by old ball sacks.
What goes through these people's minds? They think it's okay to come lurching around completely naked with no obvious destination or goal, sitting their bare ass on benches that other people have to sit on. They make conversation and eye contact while hanging their shriveled dongs for any innocent bystander to gaze upon.
It's hard not to look sometimes.
I can understand slipping your trunks on and off, throwing on some underwear discreetly while keeping your junk aimed toward the locker.
Right.
But these old effers saunter around with misplaced pride. If you need a shower, start your shower, get in, take your trunks off in the shower. Once the shower is over, dry off, throw on your underwear in the shower. No need to be flashing people.
I agree. It's not that hard to wrap a towel around.
Yeah, and that's it. Really, there does seem to be something with age where it's like,
who cares?
There was one person. Now this was followed by a bunch of people responded saying, "Hey, come on, what is it with Americans? They're so they're so uptight about their nudity." And one person said he walked into the locker room and there was an old guy just sitting there eating a bowl of soup.
No, that didn't happen.
Without any clothes on.
That's a nudist colony.
Yeah,
that's stop when you are eating a meal. By the way, the grossest place in the world to eat a meal, a locker room.
Yes,
because everything else going on around there. So,
what is that? Is that me?
I don't know. Okay. I think that's you. I'm not quite sure. I think that's you.
Me. I'm sorry. It is
I think that is you.
I don't know what just happened there.
But why are you eating a meal in the locker room, one, and especially eating nude, and especially soup? That gets burned something.
So yeah, it's really profound, and there are some locker rooms where and I get it. There's going to be nudity. It shouldn't startle you.
No.
But I just don't understand the lack of any awareness that there's other people around.
Yeah, I don't think we're uptight about the nudity per se. It's the unnecessary nudity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when you walk into a locker room, to your point, we all sign up to know that schlong is going to be seen at some point, or it's going to be around. You know, you try your best, but it's going to be around. It's the individuals who just, like, to your point,
just sit there airing out.
Yeah, they sit there airing out, and then they walk with a towel over their shoulder.
Exactly.
To the shower when it should be around your waist.
I just find that uncomfortable.
It is. It's when they're just sitting there, and it's always spread-legged.
Yeah.
Right? They're just sitting there going, oh, that's a great workout.
If I'm in my own bathroom at home and I'm brushing my teeth, I have a towel around me just because it's uncomfortable to just be swinging around like that.
Correct.
You know, you're brushing one way and this is going the other way.
And it throws you off, and then
It's like a train signal, ding, 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 ding.
It's like a windshield wiper going on down there.
You know, you just put a towel around yourself, for God's sakes.
That's what you have to do, and I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. Then sometimes they'll do the Captain Morgan pose.
Yes.
And you're like, what are you doing? You just, it should be functional.
And if you have to bend over, just watch where you're firing that thing. I mean, it's just...
Correct. And I agree, you should turn towards the locker room. Toward the locker. The schlong points towards the locker when you unrobe and put it back up.
I mean, most people are perfectly fine. They understand there's going to be nude and people are going to there, but...
Because turning towards the locker with the schlong is a universal sign for everyone to look away.
Sure.
Right? When you see the gentleman turn around, you go, oh, he's going to disrobe.
Yeah.
You gaze your eyes. It's the people who are talking with you, and then they just go bloop right in front of you, and you go, what is going on?
And have you ever been in that situation where the stars align, like you're leaning down, tying your shoe or something, and not really aware of what's going on, and you look up, and it is like 3D theater. It's like, oh, I just looked right at it.
Unexpected schlong, like up close and personal
exactly.
schlong.
It's just like everybody was just in the right place at the right time, and I was like, oh, that's in my face.
Yeah, I don't need that at all. No one needs that. It is the Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. Unofficial start of summer has arisen because of Memorial Day, which means wedding season is now upon us, as June is a choiced month for the nuptials. And this Reddit Am I the A-hole comes from a marriage ceremony.
Okay.
Going to lay it on you here real quick. This is a lengthy one, but we'll try to get through it pretty fast.
Hit it.
My brother got married last Saturday. There's 3 of us in total. I'm the oldest, 27. He's 26. The newlywed is the middle child. Our little brother's 21. At one point, I hated my middle brother's partner. The two of them had bonded over some rough times that they had both experienced and were self-medicating together. My brother wasn't using hard drugs himself, and I don't think his partner was ever properly addicted to anything, but I'd gotten word that I needed to look out for my middle brother. I made it known I didn't approve of the relationship and thought he was a bad influence, that the partner was. My brother and I didn't speak without arguing for probably a good 2 years. That's all changed now. His partner has been sober for many years and has become a close friend of mine and our little brother. We both gave toast speeches, and in the little brother's toast, he said, quote, I can say there's 4 of our last name brothers now instead of just 3. It was a very touching sentiment.
Okay.
After all the speeches are given, my wife pulls me aside kind of angrily and asks what I thought about the speeches. I said they were lovely. It turns out she was mad over the fact that when the little brother gave a speech at our wedding, he didn't insinuate that she was the first daughter of the family or anything like that. She said that his speech had been mostly focused on me, whereas his speech tonight was focused equally on both spouses and the future of their lives together. So the wife's mad because the little brother's speech says, we now have a 4th brother. When they got married, he never said, and welcome our first sister.
Okay.
I brushed this off and said she needed to stop reading into things so much. About 20 minutes later, I see her looking similarly angry during a conversation with my little brother. I walked over to try and put a stop to this myself, but I saw our other brother and his new husband coming over, so he must have caught wind of what was happening as well. 2 of us are very protective over our youngest sibling, so middle brother comes over out of the gate swinging, asking what she's pestering him about. It all developed pretty quickly. I wouldn't say a scene was caused, as everyone was trying to keep it hush-hush, but my wife ended up crying when she was asked to leave.
Oh, no.
And attracted some attention. She asked me to come back to the hotel room with her, and I refused. I wanted to continue celebrating.
Oh, bad
she
move.
She was very angry and said this was just another way I was letting my brothers walk over her and that I was excusing them, not giving her a chance.
Ouch.
Since then, she and I haven't really spoken. I need some outside perspective, It's true that my brothers aren't nearly as close to her as they are to the new addition to our family, but that's just how these things go sometimes. Am I the a-hole?
Man, I thought she was...
Right?
Really going overboard.
Because she was upset about not being fully welcomed into the family by the speech.
So if I understand correctly, she wanted a counterbalance to a speech that happened a previous wedding?
Yes. Yeah. So the wedding...
So she didn't get her props in another wedding, right, and it didn't get balanced out in this wedding.
Right. So her biggest beef after the speeches was, at their wedding, the older brother and her wedding, it was just all about the little brother gave the speech for the older brother and just mentioned a lot of stuff about the older brother.
Which, cancel me if you must, but that is a woman thing to do, to find some sort of grudge from God knows when.
It is.
And just pull it out of the mine and say,
like, bam!
And here it is.
And
like,
this
God.
So something more was festering, I think, in this marriage, right? She doesn't get along with the family somehow. So she nitpicked and found the fact that the little brother and the older brother had become good friends with the middle brother's partner, and said, welcome to the family, a fourth brother. And the little brother didn't say, welcome, in the speech previous, didn't say, welcome to the family, our first sister.
We must now go back in time and rectify this.
She was mad and was like, hey, why don't you have my back to the husband?
So for whatever reason, she gets asked to leave because she's crying.
Well, I think she starts crying because she was asked to leave. Because she goes to her husband first, and the husband says, hey, I thought the speeches were lovely. Yeah. She says, what about the speech? And he goes, hey, just brushes off, goes, you need to stop focusing on that. Let's have fun at this wedding. And then she takes it upon herself to go and accost the little brother.
Right.
And so the middle brother who's getting married to his partner, they come over because they see her accosting the little brother. And now all the brothers go to her, hey, this is supposed to be, and she's demanding the retribution of, I want to be included in this family.
Sure.
They say, well, sorry, Toots, hit the bricks. And then she says to her husband, you need to come back to the hotel with me, and hotel room, and that's when he goes, no, I'm staying.
That's a big mistake.
You can't.
Big mistake. You follow the wife.
You
go with her.
No matter how much you think she's in the wrong.
Yeah.
You have to always have your partner's back.
Yeah.
And you make it up to your brothers later on because it's just going to be awkward. You just can't do that. You can't just let her go back crying. Whether you agree with her gripe or not,
right,
you have to have her back.
Right.
And that's when, to your point, it seems like a pretty obvious who's the a-hole in this conversation. And it takes a M. Night Shyamalan twist at the end where he doesn't have his wife's back. He just stays and parties with his brothers.
Even if you don't agree with her, you go and you have a conversation. You try to, get things to simmer down as best you can. You don't just say, see ya.
Right. I'm going to keep partying.
Go cry in your pillow, bitch. What?
Yeah,
that's not a response.
Yeah, you can't do that. So you are the a-hole, sir. I'm sorry. You are the a-hole. You didn't go back to the hotel room with your wife. I know it may seem unreasonable to you, but you have to have your partner's back. You can't just be like, I'm going to go party with my bros instead, because that's just not the way it goes. One person we know, I think, in this story that's kind of an a-hole, as we wrap up the Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast, International, Japan, and Dong edition. And she'll like it too. Mr. Mellencamp.
John Mellencamp, who's always been, I guess we could call him feisty.
Yeah, I mean, when you got Cougar for a while there, and when you were Johnny Cougar, then John Cougar Mellencamp, that means you're feisty.
He's always kind of been known to be, just kind of a not really a bad boy in rock and roll, but he's just tough to work with.
Right? Exactly, because he's a Cougar, man.
So now here he is. It's 2023. He's 71 years old.
I didn't realize he's that old.
And he heads to a concert in Cleveland and says to the people in the audience, I will stop this performance if you in the audience don't shut the F up.
Were they booing him? Were they heckling him? Or were they just having a conversation? Because here's the thing, right? As the concert-going public that followed you get older, they change their habits going to your concert.
Yeah.
Right? The first time I saw Pearl Jam in 1995 at Soldier Field, it was a bunch of wild and crazy young individuals like myself who were going nuts and crowd surfing. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, when I saw Pearl Jam in like 2008 There's a lot of guys who were changing out of business suits in the bathroom and weren't nearly as raucous as they were previously.
As you walk into the theater where Mellencamp is performing, there is a sign that says, this theater, this show respects theater etiquette.
Okay. All right.
And very early on, Mellencamp told the crowd, I don't like people screaming from the effing audience.
And screaming that they are enjoying you or just screaming in general?
Just screaming. So I guess he's sitting there playing his guitar.
Ain't that America? Yeah!
And someone goes, Mellencamp! And that sets him off.
You're mad people are cheering you.
Later, as people continued talking, after a boorish concert goer yelled at him to play the effing music!
Because there's nothing worse than someone just stopping and going on forever.
When he dared to say something that could be construed as criticizing the U.S., he'd had enough. Listen, hey, you guys, if these people don't shut the F up, I'm just going to leave, okay? Because I'm not used to this crap. Look, guys, if I wanted to play in this type of drunken environment, I'd play outside or I'd play in an arena.
Instead of this theater. This is fine theater here.
Where theater etiquette goes on. The crowd was better behaved for the rest of the show, and through a little intervention by venue staff, that may have helped. Mellencamp showed that at age 71, he still has the chops to play a crowd of any size, and so he went on with the show. But apparently, just laid down the law and said, "Look, if you..." at one point, he said he was doing a quiet acoustic portion, and he says the following. This is the quiet part, so keep your effing mouth shut.
Good Lord. I'm playing the slow, pretty part here.
When a woman in the audience promptly broke the singer's rule and said, John! He fired back, what the F did I just say? I mean, that really kind of kills the mood, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I understand he's saying it's the quiet part. She wants to show her affection, and you snap at her like that?
Yeah.
Shut the F up, lady. I know you like me. You're here. You paid my money. Wearing my damn T-shirt. So shut the F up.
Right. So somebody in the audience had the nerve to go, yay.
By the way,
I like you.
By the way, what's the quiet part of a John Mellencamp? Aren't they all kind of quiet parts?
I'm sure there's I'm sure he was doing a ballad or something.
Or slowing down Jack and Diane.
Yeah. Right.
There's a little ditty about Jack and Diane.
He's 71. He probably doesn't do that dance and kick move that he's known for.
Probably more.
Sitting on a stool, strumming
Was he
his guitar.
singing Cherry Bomb? Because that's when the smoke was a smoke.
Right.
John! Yeah. Shut the F up!
Play Cherry Bomb!
Is that something someone would say?
I don't think so.
That's a lesser hit.
I don't think so. And I remember seeing him in concert like 10 years ago or something, and he was fine. He was fun. He was doing Mellencamp stuff.
But
something has happened where he's turned into a grumpy old rocker.
At what point are you okay with him walking off? Like, what hit has he already played? Like Authority song, and you're like, all right, I don't care.
Yeah.
Shut it down. I gotta get going too, John.
That's a good point. There does come a point where it's like, okay, I've heard all the songs.
I've heard everything I need from you, Cougs.
Yeah.
Shut it down. I'll keep talking.
God, can you imagine if he turns into Rod Stewart and starts doing old standards?
Oh. Yeesh.
T for 2 and 2 for T. Jing, jing, jing. Shut the F up!
Play some original. I will play whatever I want to play, damn it.
Do Moonlight Serenade. Shut up. That's Glenn Miller. Kiss my ass.
There's no vocals in that, you son of a bitch. Play that some more. That's Dean Martin, you son of a bitch.
Do some Benny Goodman. I kiss my ass. You know what? Forget it. I'm leaving. Give me my guitar.
Play some Herbie Hancock. You said cock, you son of a...
So he's on tour right now, and I just want to let you know, if you're going to go see him in concert, sit on your hand.
Yeah.
And
don't cheer. Don't yell out Coug.
So it's interesting, yeah. You think about John Cougar from the 80s versus John Cougar in the 20s. And yeah, it's a bunch of geriatric people now who used to jump up and down, and women would flash their boobs and stuff and freak out. And now everyone has to kind of sit politely like they're going to watch Les Miserables or something.
I'm sorry. You can cancel me if you want, but the flashing now would just be dropping your socks, right?
Yeah.
anymore.
And so, yeah, and now it's just like everybody sits down. Nobody gets up and dances in the aisle. You sit politely.
This is the quiet part.
You clap.
Good job, John.
You don't say yay.
No, John, well done. Well done.
Everybody
I enjoyed that.
Leaves the venue, single file. Please no pushing, or I will end this effing show.
I don't care about if you're going home to your pink houses to you and me.
So
I will end this effort.
And settle down, Mellencamp.
And by the way, you can, if you're listening at home, feel free to yell out how much you love John.
Yeah.
And we won't shut this MFer down.
Yeah, Molson!
Yeah, Molson! Woo!
Do the Lauder Brack Man!
Do the dong stuff again. We love the naked dong stuff.
F you!
F you.
Trying to concentrate up here. I'm old.
This is the shill like a 2-part, so you will shut your mouth and you will enjoy every bit of it. We'll see you next week.